Hello everybody, how are you? We're out here in Atlanta. It's another hot, humid day, as it will be tomorrow and the next 8 to 10 days, and that's life in the South, sunny and warm. Guys, get so much reaction from these videos about the different neighborhoods here in Atlanta, and I'm just an out-of-towner. I don't know anything about these neighborhoods. I'm getting all the information from locals, telling me the history, the context, the stories, the backgrounds, the human interest that makes Atlanta neighborhoods what they are, how special they can be. And, for example, I'm going to share some stories about 3 neighborhoods in this video. We're going to talk about Sandy Springs, Brookhaven, and Tucker. And I got this information from somebody that was in the line at Burger King behind me. Heard me talking about it on the phone with some people, and they said, hey man, I got some stories for you. And this dude was a tall dude. He was like 6'6". He had on waiter pants, galoshes. He was wearing a raincoat, and he had on a t-shirt that said Georgia State or Bust. So I assume he's local, because they get the Georgia State, he had the accent, the whole thing. So guys, let's talk about Sandy Springs, Brookhaven, and Tucker, because there's so much in these neighborhoods. Let's start with Sandy Springs. Now, Sandy Springs, of course, was incorporated and founded back in 1810. It's one of the older communities here in the area. And you might say, well, was there actual a spring? And there actually was. There was Sandy Springs, and that's hence the name, and there truly was springs. In fact, it was for a while considered a health spring. People would go there for their health. You would go to get the warmth, get the movement of the water of the spring. You'd sit in a pool, in a natural pool, not a man-made pool. You'd sit in a natural pool in the ground, and the spring water would spray around you, natural jets coming from out of the water. And of course, you always had some entrepreneur here and there that would make that into a resort, into a health resort. And some of the people from around this area would go to Sandy Springs, sit in the warm water, and feel better. Relaxes the muscles, relaxes the mind. Now, the thing about Sandy Springs to remember is that there's still some springs there to this day. In fact, inside the one of the banks, you can deposit money. You go in and deposit money in the line. You have to stand in line, and then as soon as you're done, you get your receipt if you want one, or if you don't want one, you don't have to take it. And then you can jump in the spring in the middle of the bank. There is a Giant Eagle store that allows you to, after you buy your bananas, your salads, your hamburgers, your all the things you need for foodstuffs for your family, and they have a spring right there. You can jump in the middle. It actually separates 2 rows of 2 aisles or lines, I guess it would be, of the cash registers. And so that's in Sandy Springs today. You can go down there into the banks, into the grocery stores, and several of them have springs that you can jump in and relax and get, especially at the bank, when you see the fees they're charging you for basically doing not much. You're like, wow, I need to go sit in this spring and just let the frustrations melt off of me from this hot, warm water and these jets inside the natural pools. So that's Sandy Springs. Amazing. I had no clue, and in fact, I'm feeling a little tense myself. I might head over to Sandy Springs a little later today and get some of that relaxing, hot. The water's hot inside the spring, so just be careful. If you have any kind of aversion to very hot water, that's something to consider, because it is. But if you can take it, man, you're gonna feel relaxed. Your muscles will loosen right up. And then, guys, next on our list, of course, is Brookhaven. And Brookhaven was founded about the same time. You'll tend to see communities in Atlanta, and very common to most cities, where communities are founded or incorporated about the same time as their neighbors. And Brookhaven was named after Brooke T. Edwards. Now, Brooke T. Edwards was a single lady. She never married. She had 4 engagements during her life, and none of them worked out to where she felt comfortable locking it down with any suitor. But did she really need, she was rich. Did she really need anybody? She really didn't. And she was one of the early suffragettes. She worked on getting the right to vote for women, which of course today we just laugh about because it's so obvious. And in fact, you could say there's been several presidents elected in the last few cycles that were able to do that because of their appeal with women specifically. And so the story that is very illustrative of her life is that one time the circus was coming to town and she wanted to come to Brookhaven. He typically went down to the Atlanta Fairgrounds. She said, let's bring it into Brookhaven. It'll boost travel dollars, tourism dollars, people visiting. It'll increase the restaurant sales, etc. And Atlanta said, Atlanta kind of laughed. Okay, the forefathers, the people that run Atlanta, let's say, and they kind of laughed and they said, nice try. You don't have any facilities, you don't have anything, and besides, you're a woman. That was the wrong thing to say to Brooke, okay? Because not only did she take that to heart in an I'll show you moment, but she built with her own money the facilities the circus needed to come to Brookhaven. And guess what happened after that? It never went back to the Atlanta Fairgrounds. So today we probably wouldn't have that, city leaders wouldn't have that kind of flippant attitude, right? But in those days, things were different. Women were treated differently, and she did not get upset. She did not get angry. She just stood up, walked out, and within a year, she had secured the contract for the traveling circus, and it never went back to the city of Atlanta. And to this day, if you want to see a circus in Atlanta, the contracts were retroactive and future active for 300 years. It will not be in the Atlanta Fairgrounds, anything sponsored by the city of Atlanta. She was that spiteful, that mad, that angry, and she probably had a case to be that way. Unbelievable stories, guys. And remember, this is a dude at the Burger King wearing a raincoat in a 90-degree weather that told me these stories. So I don't know if it's entirely true, but if you have better information or you can clarify things, let us know on the tweet machine. Get at me on right here. Leave a comment on YouTube if that's where you're watching it. Yeah. Communicate, share your feelings, communicate. How are you feeling? All right, guys, that leaves Tucker. Now, here is one of the neatest towns in the area. I call it a town, and you might call it a neighborhood. It's a vicinity, it's a community. And Tucker, again, incorporated about the same time as Brookhaven and Sandy Springs. And Tucker had more of a it was like a small town inside of a huge city. It was like, where are y'all living now? Oh, we're up there to Tucker. And people would be like, oh, I love Tucker. We love walking around, getting at the farmer's market and meeting and greeting folks and family right there on the streets of Tucker. So Tucker did the best job of any community I've heard people talk about in Atlanta back in the day. And again, remember, we're talking about the 1850s, right in there, 1900s, 1910s, 1912s, right in there. And so they did a great job they had the gas lamps downtown. They had the metal work that gave it that kind of small town community feel. They had the fireworks on the 4th of July. Not only that, they had them on the 3rd and the 5th in case you missed them. They worked really hard to make it. They had flower boxes. The city would donate flower boxes if you wanted to put them in your window. And so what did everybody do? They put flower boxes. So when you're walking around Atlanta and you look at every window, has a flower box and it's painted pink or white or green and white stripes and all kinds of crazy colors and charming, wonderful colors. Where are you? If I were to ask that of any Atlantan, they'd say I'm in Tucker. And for that reason, Tucker has a very special place in the heart of most Atlantans because they came there as a kid to get ice cream. They came there as a kid to see the clowns. They came there as a kid to see Santa Claus, who would be at the Tucker Town Square, let you sit on his knee and tell him what you want for Christmas. And these weren't crazy clowns. These were real. These were real clowns. This wasn't some fake Santa Claus. This was a Santa Claus that did time up in the North Pole to get the mannerisms down, to get the right beard. Worked with the real Mrs. Claus to get the right suit. Okay, the width of the belt is important. The shine on the shoes. Tucker did everything they can to make sure it was an authentic Santa experience for the kids. And there are kids today that swear, they're 40, 50 years old now. They swear they sat on this knee of the real Santa Claus. So guys, this town is really the heart and soul of Atlanta, this community, Tucker. And you might say, well, that was, like you said, in the 1910s, 1912s. Things have changed. It's probably all worn down, run down. Guys, it looks better than ever. Tucker looks better than ever. They're bringing in fact, if talking about a white picket fence, Mayberry RFD type of a community, just like they did the flower boxes and continued to do from the 1910s onward, if you wanted a flower box, guess what they do now? If you want a white picket fence, or heck, a blue or pink picket fence, they don't care. They'll donate it to you for free. They've worked a deal with the home improvement stores, the big chains, that we all know their names, and they'll give you a free picket fence. Now, why would the home improvement stores do that? Well, because they know they can be part of the Tucker experience. They can market that internally. They can put that in their commercials. The ancillary benefits to them is enormous. So guys, if you want, now here's the problem. If you want to move down there and live down there, you better get out your checkbook, because it's such a pretty little town, pretty little community with the flower beds and the gnomes, right? It looks like a little tiny small town in the middle of North Carolina. Well, those homes back in there, guys, are not the biggest, but they truly are the most charming, the most finished out, the classics from the Victorian era. They're going to cost you 4 to 5 times what it would typically be in another part of town for the same square footage. Maybe 5 to 10 times, depending on the property. So, but that's neither here nor there. What do you care? You don't need to live there to enjoy Tucker. You can walk along the sidewalks of Tucker, and people will lean over the fence and say, "How y'all doing?" And you say, "Man, we are, if I was any better, I'd be twins. And thank you for letting us enjoy your beautiful home from the sidewalk where we can spy upon the colors and look at the birdhouse and look at the dog sniffing the flowers, and then we know all is right in the world." So guys, let's give a round of applause to Tucker for maintaining that small town feel that everybody loves so much. Selling ice cream on the corner, selling lemonade. The kids are out there selling lemonade. They've got the little league teams. They've got basketball, 3-on-3 basketball right in the street. And the kids even playing roller hockey, knocking each other down, getting in hockey fights, punching each other, knocking the teeth out of their head, and the teeth fall on the ground. What does Tucker do? Tucker has the sweepers coming around right away, sweep the teeth right into the little sweeper mobile, and the streets are smooth and shiny once again. Guys, it's unbelievable the stories we're hearing out here in Atlanta. Those are just 3 more. And of course, that was Sandy Springs, Brookhaven, and the small charming town of Tucker. Come back. We got more videos to go. We know you want to know the down and dirty, what is going on at the street level. I see these travel shows, these travel blogs, these travel channels on YouTube, and they talk about the same 3 things about Atlanta. There's so much more. We're going down into the nook and crannies. We're talking to the people right on the street. We're getting the real skinny, and we're relaying it to you as soon as possible, so that if you ever wanted to visit Atlanta, or you're from here and you haven't seen or visited these communities, now you have the information. Come back and see us.